Night fell upon the plains of Bodh Gaya, and beneath the vast canopy of the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha Gautama sat unmoving, his body slender yet steady as a mountain. Around him the world exhaled into silence, the stars shimmering like ancient witnesses. Mara, the Lord of Illusion, slithered through the darkness, whispering doubts of futility. Why seek what cannot be found? You have abandoned kingdom and kin. For what? Yet Siddhartha's eyes, half closed in meditation, did not stir. His breath softened, the boundary between worlds thinning, as the first ripples of past lives began to surface. Flickers of memory awakening in the eternal night. The earth beneath him seemed to breathe, every grain of soil a pulse of memory. The first echoes of his past lives began to stir like a river beneath the skin. Mara's voice coiled around his thoughts, whispering, "You think you can remember eternity? You, a man of flesh?" Yet Siddhartha did not resist. He inhaled the whisper of the body leaves, sinking deeper, where lifetimes awaited like submerged stars. Time unraveled. The night turned to liquid. Through the veil of consciousness, Siddhartha saw himself as other, running barefoot through forests, crying out in hunger, killing, weeping, loving. The visions were not distant. They were him. The same flame reborn again and again in new clay. His body trembled, but his heart did not flinch. Mara crouched beside him, whispering of failure, of futility, of endless birth and death. "Why endure this endless wheel?" the shadow asked. Siddhartha's lips moved, not in reply, but in the first murmur of understanding, because they suffer, and I cannot turn away. The night deepened into boundless stillness. The stars dimmed. Siddhartha felt the threshold within, the gate of memory swinging open. His breath steadied. His mind descended beyond form and time into the first doorway of the past. A vision began to rise, the life of the hunter. From the depths of his stillness, Siddhartha's mind broke into a torrent of sound. The cry of birds, the crack of dry branches, the stench of blood upon the wind. He saw himself as another being, a man of the wild, sinewed and fierce, living by the bow. In that lifetime, compassion was unknown, only hunger and the thrill of pursuit. The world was green and merciless, a jungle without mercy, where life devoured life. Yet even then, buried beneath the instinct to kill, a faint ember of sorrow stirred. He crept through thorns barefoot, heart beating with the rhythm of the jungle. Each sound was prey, each movement survival. Yet when his arrow found the heart of a doe, her eyes met his, wide, unblaming, ancient. In that single gaze he felt a memory, older than his own flesh, the truth that every death was his own. That night, he sat by a dying fire, meat untouched, staring into the flames that crackled like ghosts of his actions. The jungle whispered. He heard in the wind the cries of all beings he had hunted, each voice echoing his own hunger, his own fear. And the fire's smoke rose, upward, curling like the breath of karma, binding him to the endless chain. As the vision deepened, Siddhartha felt the hunter's heart tremble. He saw himself lay down his bow, unable to lift it again. The forest no longer seemed a place of conquest, but of kinship. He watched the dawn break over the trees, and in that fragile light, he whispered an apology, not to the deer, but to all life he had ever taken. Back beneath the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha's breath deepened. The vision of the hunter dissolved into silence, yet the sorrow remained, a seed of compassion planted in the soil of memory. The first life had been seen. The wheel turned once. The next vision stirred the life of the king. From the stillness of meditation, Siddhartha's mind ignited again, not with forest or hunger, but with gold and fire. He saw a palace vast and shimmering, banners fluttering in the sun. Upon its throne sat a man with his face, older, crowned, and proud. The people bowed before him, their fear mistaken for reverence. In that life, he ruled with certainty, believing himself to be the axis of the world. Yet, beneath the splendor, the same loneliness whispered the silence of a heart that could not love without ownership. He walked through corridors of marble, each step echoing with emptiness. Servants bowed, guards saluted, and musicians played songs of his glory. Yet when he gazed into the polished bronze mirrors, his reflection seemed to waver. Behind the proud eyes, he saw a hunter's sorrow, faint and familiar. The weight of the crown was heavier than armor, pressing upon the skull like guilt. War came as easily as breath. He ordered men into battle without hesitation, drunk on the illusion of command. But when the corpses returned, piled, nameless, burned, he felt the hollowness echo through his veins. Each fallen soldier was another self, each cry another memory of pain. The throne, once radiant, now gleamed like a blade. That night he wandered alone to the edge of his kingdom. The moon hung pale over the ruins of what he had conquered. He heard the faint weeping of widows carried on the wind. Removing his crown, he knelt upon the soil and pressed his forehead to the earth. The taste of dust was bitter and familiar. He understood then, no throne could escape the law of cause and effect. Back beneath the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha's eyes opened slightly. His breath shuddered. The golden palaces, the wars, the voices, all gone. Yet their echoes pulsed in his chest. Power had not freed him, it had chained him. The second life was seen. The next life shimmered in the darkness. The life of the beggar. The vision began with cold. A thin wind over cracked earth. Siddhartha saw himself clothed in rags, body gaunt, bones visible beneath pale skin. He wandered through a nameless village, bowl in hand, eyes hollow from hunger. No one met his gaze. They looked past him as if he were already gone. The taste of dust on his tongue, the ache in his belly, the sting of rejection. These were his teachers now. He understood the hunger of the body was nothing beside the hunger of the heart. He came upon a child weeping beside a crumbled wall, her small hands clutching an empty cup. Without thought, he knelt and poured the last of his water into her palms. The child drank, then smiled, a fragile, fleeting light in a world of hunger. For the first time, he felt the warmth of giving without possession, of love that asked for nothing in return. Days passed, and his body grew weaker. Yet in the stillness of starvation, his heart began to open. He saw the world not as enemy, but as mirror, each face reflecting his own suffering. The wind that chilled his bones was the same wind that cooled the rich and the poor alike. Even the stray dog that followed him shared his fate, seeking crumbs at the same door. At the end of that life, he lay beneath a tree, not of enlightenment but of rest. His bowl empty, his breath shallow. He watched the stars through branches above. He smiled faintly, not in despair, but in release. Death came not as an enemy, but as a friend who whispered, "You have given what little you had. And that is enough." Beneath the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha's eyes shimmered with unseen tears. He had been the beggar, the king, the hunter, all bound by the same thread of desire and sorrow. Yet, in the beggar's small act of kindness, he glimpsed the first true light. The vision dissolved, and in the silence that followed, another life rose from the depths. The life of the mother. A soft cry pierced the stillness of Siddhartha's meditation. He saw himself as another. A woman this time, her body frail yet strong with purpose. She held a newborn child against her breast, her eyes tired but radiant. The air smelled of rain and milk. Around her, the world was small, a hut, a flickering lamp, the rhythm of a lullaby. In that life, she had no wealth, no status, no power. Yet, In the curve of that tiny face, she found a love so vast it shattered the walls of self. Days turned to seasons. She worked endlessly, mending clothes, carrying water. Her palms roughened, her back bent, but her spirit did not waver. Each act of care was a silent prayer, each hardship a lesson in patience. Love, she learned, was not the joy of holding on, but the strength to let go. One day the child fell ill. Fever burned through his small body, and the mother's songs turned to whispers. She held him through the long night, refusing sleep, her tears mingling with his sweat. When dawn came, his breathing slowed. She pressed her forehead to his and said, "If your pain could be mine, I would bear it forever." In that moment, her heart broke and opened beyond measure. When the child's breath faded, the world fell silent. The mother did not wail. She carried the small body to the river, laid him gently upon the water, and whispered a blessing. The current took him, slow and shining under the morning sun. Her grief became stillness, the stillness of love that no longer clings, that gives even what it cannot bear to lose. Back beneath the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha's chest heaved. He felt her love. His love flow through every lifetime he had lived. The hunter's sorrow, the king's guilt, the beggar's humility, all dissolved into the mother's boundless compassion. The third door had opened. Another awaited the life of the soldier, forged in violence and regret. The silence beneath the Bodhi tree broke with a roar, steel, smoke, and cries. Siddhartha saw himself once more a man armored in rusted iron, eyes hollow from endless battle. The air was thick with blood and ash. He raised his sword not in hate, but in fear. Fear of dying. Fear of living. Around him, men fell like leaves in a storm. The ground trembled with the weight of karma made visible. Through the smoke, he saw an enemy charging toward him. Young, trembling, no older than a boy. For a moment their eyes met, and both froze. The boy's blade wavered. The soldier struck first. When the boy fell, Siddhartha's sword slipped from his hands. The scream that tore from his throat was not for the boy. It was for every life he had ever taken, every fear he had ever obeyed. Night fell over the battlefield. The soldier wandered among corpses, seeking meaning among ruin. Each face he touched was a reflection of his own. Enemies, allies, all the same. In their silence, he heard the echo of the hunter's prey, the beggar's hunger, the mother's grief. The wheel turned within him, grinding his soul to dust. He dropped to his knees and screamed into the void, not in rage, but in surrender. The heavens did not answer. Only the wind moved, lifting the ashes like lost prayers. He took the sword in both hands and drove it into the earth, vowing never again to harm. From that act of refusal, a strange peace descended, the peace of exhaustion, of surrender to truth. Back beneath the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha's face shone pale in moonlight. His body trembled, but his eyes were steady. He had seen life as predator, as ruler, as beggar, as mother, and as destroyer. Each had burned through him like a torch. And now, the night began to soften, for beyond the wheel of pain waited the dawn. The final vision approached the awakening. The visions fell away like petals on a fading wind. The night was silent again, yet not the same. Siddhartha felt every lifetime within him, the hunter's hunger, the king's pride, the beggar's ache, the mother's love, the soldier's guilt, all threads woven into one vast tapestry of being. Beneath the Bodhi tree, his breath became the rhythm of the universe itself. Mara appeared once more, no longer monstrous but sorrowful. "Who are you now?" he asked. Siddhartha opened his eyes and replied softly, "Awake." Light began to pour from the east, not the cold light of morning, but the living light of understanding. Every breath of the world seemed to exhale in relief. The earth trembled gently, and the roots of the Bodhi tree glowed. Siddhartha saw all beings as his own reflections: insects, birds, kings, thieves, children, each one trapped, each one beloved. The walls of self fell away, leaving only boundless compassion. He watched the cycles of birth and death unfold like waves, infinite, beautiful, and tragic. He saw the hungry reborn as the hunted, the proud reborn as the broken, the cruel reborn as the compassionate, and in that endless motion he saw no enemy, no other. Only the same soul learning to love itself again and again. This was the law, and it was perfect. Mara's voice faded into the morning wind. "You have won," it whispered. But Siddhartha shook his head. "No one wins." He placed his palm upon the earth, feeling its pulse, the pulse of all life. The ground responded, trembling gently beneath him, as if acknowledging the truth. The final darkness within him dissolved. The sky brightened. The first bird sang. Dawn unfolded across the world. Siddhartha Gautama sat beneath the Bodhi tree, no longer the seeker but the Buddha, the awakened one. His eyes opened, calm and clear, seeing the world as it was: impermanent, sorrowful, yet radiant with possibility. The night that began with darkness ended in light. The wheel of birth and death had not ceased, but in understanding it he was free. The wind moved softly through the leaves, and the Buddha smiled, a smile for all beings, across all time.